Good morning, welcome to my garden. It's a little bit early, it's just before 7 a.m. So I woke up a little bit early this morning and I thought what a great time to get out in the back garden here and give everything a good water. So just by way of update, I've been away the last 2 weeks of May. I was gone from the garden, so I have come back in early June and just seen a complete change. It's like it's a whole different garden that I left from what I left. So I'm excited to show you all of the changes. For example, you can see my Gertrude Jekyll rose back there. It was in just floriferous, beautiful bloom when I came back. So, you know, that was just one change, but there was so many changes in the garden. It's really cool to come back after 2 weeks and this time of year and see so many changes, so dramatic, because, you know, when you're in your garden regularly, you see these subtle changes, but it's much more dramatic when you've been away for 2 weeks. So I'll show you that, and it's a very comfortable time of year in early June for us here. The temperatures are hovering around like between 21 and 24 degrees Celsius, which is about 71 to 74 degrees Fahrenheit, I believe. So it's a great time to be in the garden, and so much is in bloom. We're still not in the hot days of summer, so we're in late spring, and there's a lot to do. Unfortunately, like, I left for 2 weeks and the weeds kind of went crazy, and you know, I wasn't even on top of that anyways, so there's weeding and edging, there's always that. But yesterday I was able to give the front garden a good water, and it has been pretty dry. We haven't had precipitation for a little while, and I think everything could use a really nice drink. So that's the first thing on the agenda for today, is to give everything in the back garden a nice drink, a nice water. And it's actually better for your garden to do it early in the morning, because then it has kind of throughout the day to kind of soak up. The sun will dry off the leaves, for example, because you don't want any kind of wet leaves overnight when the temperatures drop, and you know, there could be dew, so it could cause problems for your plants. And usually I don't have time in the morning, but because I woke up so early today, I thought now is a good time to get that done. And I tend to water deeply and less often, rather than more often and kind of less deeply. So it takes me a little while to do, especially the back garden. But what I do is I'll just put on a podcast, I put on my earphones, and I find it quite meditative, so I don't mind watering, at least this time of year when I don't have to do it as often. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to give everything a good drink, and then I will come back and I'm going to give a little bit of a tour to show off all of the beautiful changes that have happened in the garden since the last time I was here in mid-May. So thanks for joining me today. Hi guys, I'm back. It is the late afternoon now, so I thought it'd be a great time to do the garden tour. It's been a very warm day and we're in for summer-like temperatures this weekend, so let's get this garden tour done. This is a warts and all garden tour. I have not done any work in this garden since I've been back. Like I said, I've been gone for the last 2 weeks of May, so you're gonna see a lot of weeds and edging and a lot of work to be done, but let's take a look. All right, so let's start here in the back garden, and you can see back here we have this new retaining wall that was put in, and I did a shrub border in front of it to kind of break up the wall. So I transplanted 2 hydrangeas, 2 pranicle hydrangeas, and they are a little bit there's this one on this end is one of them, and the other one is on the other end, and I was a little bit concerned about them, but they are looking good. The leaves are very green, and usually these kind of bloom later in the summer, so there's no sign of blooms yet, but that's not abnormal. And also because they were transplanted, I think, you know, they might not bloom the first year, but that's fine. And you know, the soil under here is very bad. I had kind of started like trying to edge it, but that's something that I want to really get on as soon as possible. I want to sheet mulch this. Here I have a willow and some bush type willow. I've got a boxwood on either side, and the centerpiece of my shrub border is this red twig dogwood, which, as you can see, is doing very well. It's quite large now. It's probably like around 6 feet, as taller than the wall itself. And I think this year is the year I'm going to have to try to trim out the old stems and leave new ones. But the benefit of this shrub is it's an Arctic fire red twig dogwood, and it has vibrant red stems in winter, so it's got really great winter interest. This was a rescue boxwood, and so far so good. It's not doing amazing, but it's not dead, so that's a win. Here's my other willow and my other panicle hydrangea. And then this is I believe it's an azalea, and it has vibrant fuchsia like blooms. And I pretty much missed most of that when I was away, but I did catch the beginning of it and it was lovely. I've kind of like tried to deadhead it to take off all the dried blooms as much as possible just to make it look better. And yeah, it's doing really well. I was kind of concerned when this wall went up that it would get damaged and it wouldn't come back, but seems to have made it this year anyways. So it probably needs a good fertilizer now, and like I said, I want to sheet mulch this with cardboard and mulch this year, and hopefully sooner rather than later, as soon as I find time. And then moving up, so this here is my Bloodgood Japanese maple. I love this tree. It looks like it's doing okay. It's got this beautiful color. Show you the leaves here. So this is a Bloodgood again. And underplanted, I have 4 hostas, and I actually split these hostas this year because these two actually took up the entire space back here last year and they were overlapping. So now they're smaller. Have to do some weeding in this bed, but then yeah, I've got 2 in the front. So I know this one's a water slide and I can't remember the names of all of them, but they're all different and they're all beautiful. And I think this is a wild berry or wild rose heuchera, and of course the bee is right on time, on cue. And I believe I have a foam flower back here. I had them on both sides, and the one in the back is doing a little bit better than this one here. But yeah, another thing that I need to kind of sheet mulch and get the weeds under control. So that's my Bloodgood. Now turning around back along my shrub border here, this is a garden bed that pretty much was destroyed when the wall went in. The dwarf Alberta spruce did survive, but before I left I did get some plants in here and they seem to be doing pretty well. So the first thing I did is I put in some hellebores in the back because I had a climbing rose there, a David Austin Generous Gardener, and that one didn't come back after the wall was built. So I had to think about what would do well in the shade because eventually there's going to be a fence going up and I think this is going to be deep shade. And I found that this area is relatively moist, so I found that maybe hellebores would be a good choice. So I put in these beautiful hellebores in the back, this row, and they have like these nice big bold leaves, and you can still see some of the blooms on there. They're quite faded now, but I think that will be a really nice kind of early spring, late winter like interest. So I wanted to put that in there. And then I had put in a bunch of splits from my hostas. So I've got one here, I've got a couple there. So I've got a different, just like a variety of hostas, because again, like kind of towards the back, it's kind of more of a damp spot. And I really like the yellow that's popping on that one. So that's really good. I also had put in a pulmonaria here and back here. This one I was quite concerned about. It was very dry and it kept flopping and wilting. And I just had to give it a lot of water. So it looks like it's come back pretty well. Just needs a little bit of a cut back or a trim, and I think that is the spot on variety, and this one might be a different variety. It might be the twinkle toes variety that I have out front. This is my bobo hydrangea, and I was a bit concerned that it was not going to survive, but it has leafed out beautifully and it looks like it's coming back, so that's great. Again, so many weeds in here. I didn't have a chance to mulch this garden bed before I left, so that's why there's so many weeds. Here I've got my ajuga, all the blooms are done. So they were this beautiful deep purple color when I left, and you can see now they've all dried up. So I can probably deadhead that if I want, or I can just leave it. And I planted a bunch of impatiens in here, which don't look like they put on too much growth, but you know, I think that's because I wasn't here to water them as much. So you can see the soil is quite dry, so they could use a good watering. And I also need to kind of amend this bed. The soil is not great, so I got to add some organic matter and amend this bed. So turning around, other than the impatiens, I put in these annuals along the front here. This is alyssum, and I love this alyssum because it smells so wonderful. It smells like honey, and it actually overwintered for me in a different part of my garden, which I was so excited to see. So I'm hoping that these may overwinter. I'm not sure if they're going to get enough sun in this area, but fingers crossed, because they seem like they're the perfect little mounding annual or perennials for me, hopefully, that kind of perfect to line this sidewalk and just give you a nice fragrance as you walk by. Well, that's the hope anyways. I also transplanted this. This is a, I believe it's a midnight wineshine weigela. And you can see I transplanted here. I didn't have high hopes for it, but it did bloom. So you can see the beautiful blooms on it. It seems like it blooms mostly on this side, but little tubular type of blooms, which is really pretty. So I'm happy with that transplant because this does say on the smaller side. So I kind of put it there because I didn't know where else to put it, but you know, whether it's going to stay there or not, I think probably it will, but it was nice that it actually bloomed because last year it didn't bloom at all where it was. So, and then this is a hosta I've had here for a couple years. At least I had it here last year. I think it's called Queen of the Seas. It's a blue-green type hosta and it's ridged. So you can see here, and it goes kind of more green where the sun hits it. You can see that leaves kind of been chewed on, but probably have to bait in this garden bed for slugs. But anyways, that's doing pretty well. It's happy there. And it's quite large, so I might have to split that again in fall, but for now, it's okay. And all of these weeds are horsetail, so I have to pull those because this bed is just, horsetail is rampant in this bed, and it's just such a horrible weed to get rid of because it has these like roots that are rhizomatous, I think it's what it's called. But anyways, they're very difficult to eradicate, and if you miss even one piece, it'll grow back. So I was advised just to like pull it from the top, just to like starve it basically of sunlight, and eventually you'll get on top of it. Here I have some chives which self-seeded themselves, and I left them, and I just thought they look so cool there. They're just like these purple balls. I don't really eat chives that much, but you can eat those. Those are edible. Here I have my astilbe that's just starting to come in. You can see the buds on there, so that's going to be blooming pretty soon. And this is an ochreous grass, ogon, that I planted before I left. It's supposed to be kind of a water-loving kind of grass, and it gives you a really nice pop of color in this corner, which is very kind of dark, more shaded. It's the very corner of this bed where all the water kind of runs down, so it's the most moist area of this bed. So hopefully that grass gets bigger and takes off in that area. And you can see when they built up the wall, they kind of left like this like kind of ledge of dirt, which is super annoying because now I'm trying to get rid of it, of course, because I get weeds growing in there and I want it to be kind of flat so I can kind of mulch over it. But anyways, so as you can see, this is a lot of work I've come back to that needs to get done, which I will slowly over time get to. And let's turn to this little garden bed here. So here I have all of my onyx and pearls penstemon, which some of it is blooming. And of course this is a pollinator magnet. It has these really cool kind of lavender blooms, which are tubular. These ones are not quite open yet, but you can see like just the color of the plant, the height, the blooms. It's such an interesting plant, and it's kind of self-seeded itself, and I've let it. This is kind of like my penstemon stand, and I love it. So also in this garden bed I have some astilbe, and you know, we have a contrast of like the astilbe with the kind of thicker stalks, and then the ones that are a little bit more wavy, kind of like they blow around in the breeze a little bit more. They're not as kind of solid in the stems. And then I have my little lime punch hydrangea there. And then of course I've got my dwarf Alberta spruce, which matches the one on the other side. And then this little narrow garden bed I had kind of done a little makeover on last year, and I had put in some pulmonaria, which bloomed beautifully very early on in the season. It was so nice to have these like bubblegum pink blooms when like nothing else was blooming. And as you can see, my transplanted penstemon I had popped in there. This one is doing really well. This one's not quite at the same level yet, maybe next year. And then I've got my astilbe in the middle, which is doing great. And then I've put ajuga, which had bloomed nicely. And I'm hoping the ajuga will kind of spread out, and then I won't have to kind of mulch this area. I did put this, I believe it is Pink Fizz Heucherella. That one doesn't seem to be doing great, but it wasn't doing great when I put it in, so we'll see if that makes it. And then this little corner garden here is doing really well. It does really well every year. It's one of my favorite little spots in the garden because I have this stand of phlox here, which looks like it's doing really nicely. And then I have a bobo hydrangea, and then I have a stilby. So it's kind of like a progression of blooms. And then this penstemon here is kind of self-seeded, and it's a new addition, but it's a welcome one. And then in this little corner, which we have a lot of water coming in this little corner, is this hosta here, which I don't know, you can't even tell, but I split this hosta. And yes, it's looking as full as ever, so it doesn't even look like it's been split. It looks wonderful. And this one blooms, lavender blooms when it does bloom. And then tucked in here is a sarcococa, and that one is not doing great. I don't know, it's kind of getting smothered a bit, so it might have to be moved, but really like these stilby in this garden here. And then all along I've got little circular gardens with boxwoods in them, and you can see that they have boxwoods. Some of them, the boxwoods closer to me are doing better than the ones at the end, but basically all of them kind of have, I think most of them have pulmonaria. They have Jacob's ladder, which is this purple bloom here, and they have hostas. And this one I popped in, this, I think it's a wild rose heuchera. Could be wild berry, but I think it's wild rose. But you can see here that my pulmonaria always does really well. And again, like early spring interest, beautiful blooms. And I've got my, I forget which one this is, but it's one of the Proven Winners one. It could be Peachberry Ice, not quite sure. But yes, check out this blooms on this Jacob's ladder. Adds a nice height to this little area here, this garden bed. And on the back side, I have this dwarf goat's beard, which kind of looks like an astilbe when it blooms, but the leaves are these really finely dissected leaves, very interesting leaves. And it's got white, creamy white blooms. So, but very similar to an astilbe. And I did pop in like a little mini hosta here, which survived but barely, so I might have to like pay a little bit more attention to this one. Moss grows in here because of all of the wet we have in the winter, so I just have to like kind of try to kind of get this kind of swept out when I get a chance, and like top dress with compost. And you can see here I've got a little, I think that might be a frilly heuchera, could be. But anyways, I've got more astilbe, more Jacob's ladder back there. And my boxwood could use a little trim. Let's go to the next one. So this boxwood is not doing as well. You can see it has so much orange in there and dead, so I'm not sure if it's dead or if it's alive. I don't know if it's root rot. I'm not sure what the issue is here, but maybe if you have any idea, let me know, because I could really try to find out if I need to dig this out or leave it, give it a chance to recover. I'm not really sure. But yes, we have the beautiful Jacob's ladder in the back. We have the astilbe. We have the pulmonaria. So a lot of different blooms, even though this is a kind of a shady area. And the last one is a little bit different. So this one gets the most moisture. So I do have the hosta, that blue Queen of the Seas one. I split it and I put it here. And I think it might be too big for this area, but you know, I tried it. So. And then I have this hosta as well as one over here, and this one really is vibrant. It's underplanted with this Angelina stonecrop, which is actually blooming right now, surprisingly. Might cut off those blooms, but anyways, that's just like a vibrant pop of color, which is really nice. And then this boxwood is kind of doing the same thing with the orange. I don't know if that's like winter bronze. It should kind of be gone by now, if I should cut that out or if I should, you know, trim it and see what happens. I don't know. And then of course the ajuga was blooming, and that pulmonaria was blooming beautifully for early spring interest. I should probably cut back those bloom stalks there. And then this is liatris, so that will bloom later in the summer. Now one task I absolutely have to get to is this one here. So this is my sweet autumn clematis, and it's completely covered my little trellis. And then I have eye hooks along this little pillar here, and I've got to get my twine up as soon as possible because, you know, know, as you can see, it's already growing up there, and I don't want it flopping everywhere like it is now. So I've got to that's one task that I've got to get done as soon as possible, is getting that twine up and getting it trained up there. So this one blooms in September. And then I have a stand of phlox here with my boxwood in this container. And this boxwood is one I can always kind of dig. If I have to dig up one of these, I can always substitute it with that one. But we'll see. This garden bed is completely neglected. This is my hydrangea lane garden bed, and it has been full of weeds. You can see these yellow flowers are buttercups, just the bane of my existence. That and horsetail, and it's kind of all over. So this buttercups, you know, they're great, cheerful yellow flowers, but they are a weed, and they are just so hard to get rid of. So I have to like kind of weed this garden bed. You can see my poor little heuchera in there is just getting choked out by the weeds. But on the bright side, this mahogany monster is blooming, and it's looking beautiful. So I love the blooms there. I have my peony here. This is a Festiva Maxima, and it's fully bloomed. It's beautiful. You can see it's like white, and it has tinges of like little specks of red or pink, and it smells amazing. So gorgeous peony. And I'm always conflicted if I should harvest them and bring them inside or leave them and enjoy them in the garden. So I want to plant as many as possible so that I can do both, but I tend to just buy them to enjoy inside and then leave them in the garden. And this is grass that has grown up, and yeah, so definitely have a lot of weeding to do. You can see so much grass in this garden bed. And then my hydrangeas are starting to put on some growth. You can just see this hydrangea. I think this is a Firelight Tidbit. It's pretty well leafed out. My mahogany monster is doing really well. This is a peony, which looks like it did not bloom this year, so maybe that one needs a little bit more time. But the one right next to it, beautiful. I think this might be Sarah Bernhardt, I believe. So it's like a very light blush pink. It's either that. I don't think it's Festiva Maxima because it isn't pure white, but it is gorgeous. Like, look at the size of that bloom. Beautiful. And then this is kind of the bud stage. It's kind of sticky. And then this is a marshmallow stage. So if you wanted to actually, you can cut this one and wrap it in plastic, put it in your fridge, and then you can actually enjoy blooms later in the season if you like. And this stand here, this hydrangea is quite tall. And this is either, I think this might be onyx because it has the black dark stems. And then if it is, that means the blooms will be white. And if I'm wrong, then it's peacock. It's either onyx or peacock, one or the other. And then it's taking up quite a bit of space actually. And then just behind it, more peonies, more weeds and more peonies, more grass. So you can see those are a little bit different stage. So this garden bed is in a little bit more shade. So these peonies are a little bit later than the other ones. So I had to come back to some that were in full bloom, and then some of them were just budding or in bud stage. I have a stilbe here, which is doing well. And then this hydrangea is, I believe it's a mountain serrata type tough stuff. This one is all budded up. More peonies because you cannot have enough peonies. And then I have this hydrangea, which did not bloom last year. And I'm very excited to see buds because I believe this is my hydrangea called Love, L-O-V-E. And yeah, last year didn't bloom, so I was very cautious about pruning it. So it looks like this year might be the year. And I think this is a giant weed right in the middle that I've got to get to. And then of course, these are more hydrangeas. These are more of the kind of older style hydrangeas. So they're all budded up. They do really well every year. These are susceptible to like the soil, so you can change the colors once I added aluminum sulfate and turn them blue, but generally my hydrangeas are usually pink in this area when they're dependent on the soil. So yeah, they just look amazing. So they've got buds all over. And let's turn along to the fence here. So we have this long border, I call it the long border, which goes all along this fence. And the fence is in kind of a various states of repair, but in any event, so this corner It's quite shaded and it's basically nothing in winter. You don't think there's anything here, but as you can see, it's completely filled out with astilbe. So I've got this like kind of taller astilbe, and I think there's 4 different kinds in here. So they kind of fill out this whole corner, and I can see there's some buttercup and weeds in there, but you know, it's kind of filled in. And you can see the different varieties of astilbe, like there's this one as compared to this one. So that'll be interesting. And then this is a Francis William hosta, which looks amazing. I just love this hosta, and you can see how big those leaves are. Lots of weeds as well, covering this poor little guy here. So I think that's a peachberry ice heuchera that I've got to kind of dig out and rescue from all these weeds and buttercup, creeping buttercup that are in here. But it's nice to have that pop of color, definitely. This kind of nice color in the garden in this shady area. And then I do have a camellia here. So this camellia is Taylor's Perfection, and it's not doing the best. It's, you know, kind of barely hanging on. So I'm not sure what to do with that one, but I'll leave it for now. And I was so surprised to see my lady's mantle here just explode. This one was tiny when I planted it. And here you can see like how much it has grown. It is huge. It's got these beautiful like chartreuse, yellow, green blooms all over it. So it's already bloomed, and it's quite tall. And I love this plant, but yeah, it's definitely grown a lot more than I expected it to. So once the blooms have kind of faded, I'm gonna definitely trim that back. I might even have to split that and spread that around. And then, yes, you can see it goes all along here, right to my next peony. So this peony here is looking nice. It's nice and tall. I probably have to stake it better next year, but you can see, look at that beautiful color. Smells amazing too. So it also has like buds on it. So I didn't want to cut this one because the bud is right there. I don't want to lose a flower, but you can see that beautiful, beautiful peony down here, up here. Oh yes, and it looks like I also have some pincushion flower popping up in here too. But yeah, the scent of peonies is just amazing. I've also got this astilbe, which is so much taller than last year, which I'm excited to see. It's like almost halfway up the fence. And then I did have a piece of my mountain serrata hydrangea that I transplanted here, and it seems to have grown quite a bit. So that's looking really nice. It seems to like the spot. And then, yeah, quite a bit of weeds in this bed. And then of course I have a juga, which I used as a ground cover. And it's kind of like a ground cover, keeping the roots of my clematis cool. So this clematis, it's Viva Polonia. And I've got it trained up on this kind of pillar, and then with some twine all the way to the top of the fence. And it's underplanted with a juga and these 2 little alliums. You can see that's the allium foliage, but let's take a closer look at the blooms. So I just want to give you an idea of the size of the blooms. So Alright, sorry about that. My phone battery died, so I had to go get some charge on the phone before I could finish the tour, but I'm back. So let's see if we can get it done before we lose daylight. So this is where we left off. This is my Viva Polonia clematis, and I just wanted to document these beautiful blooms and show off their immense size. So I haven't fertilized, but I should probably fertilize now because everything is kind of in bloom. And you can see another peony here. Look how fluffy this one is. I really have to be better at staking these, but isn't that pretty? Got a nice little bloom down here as well. So nice. And then I also have this little container bed here. So I had planted a tree and nothing was growing here because it was just too wet. So I had put this little raised bed here, and I really have to figure out a way to stake this lilac on standard. It smells amazing once it's in bloom. And I missed most of it. You can see all these blooms. I could probably deadhead this. This is not really a reblooming variety, so you can always leave it and give yourself less work. but I do have to figure out a way to stake this because it's leaning really badly now. It's just like it's too heavy for me to pull and I don't want to damage the roots. So I got to figure that out. And I have some lilies underplanted here, which look like they are doing well. This, I believe, is a weed. Haven't weeded this bed either. But I did want to show off this clematis. This is the vagabond. And because I haven't been here to stake it, it's kind of just leaning out over this poor little raised bed here. But this is one of my favorites. And you can see why, the vibrant colors. See that gorgeous, gorgeous clematis? And usually I have it staked up on this trunk. So got a lot of work to do. And then here I just have a, this is not chamomile, this is feverfew, but it looks very similar. You can see there's some more of my clematis hiding in there. Anyways, as you can see, this is a warts and all tour, and I have a lot of work ahead of me. And here, so I've got 2 peonies. This one didn't bloom, this one did. And these are all pretty recent additions to the garden, so I'm not really surprised. So I pulled most of my pugster blue because none of them really survived the winter. None of them came back, except for this one had some green on it, and I left it. And you can see it has some signs of life. So again, this plant is not good for my garden, but this is the only one that did kind of survive. So we'll see what happens with that. You can see this little Alchemilla mollis or lady's mantle and compare it to the one I showed you and how small that is. So the other one, that was how small it was when I put it in, and look at it now. So I'm assuming this one will also get huge at some point. And then this is my allium. And I actually have a stand of these alliums, and you can see they are huge and they've kind of gone over. I missed kind of their bloom period while I was away, and you can see the foliage is dying back. I'm not a fan of the look of that foliage. So I don't really know. I'm not really too sure about these alliums, but you know, to be fair, I didn't see them in their peak. So I'm gonna give them another year and just leave them be and see what happens. This is a frilly heucherella or heuchera, which is one that I really like. I just love the frilly leaves. Got some pincushion flower here, some more Alchemilla mollis, which are much smaller blooms. And then moving along, we've got these huge alliums underplanted with this baby Kim lilac. Tons of weeds in this part as well. Here's a beautiful bright spot. This is rose campion. Isn't that a vibrant, beautiful color? Love rose campion, and I've got it all over my garden. I do have a clematis here, which I can see that there are seed heads here, but you can see it's just like, poor little thing is just barely hanging on by this like one stem. So I think when I was like trying to weed under here, then I accidentally like ripped that one out, but I don't know. Hopefully that will come back. This garden bed, again, it's got like so many weeds in it, but in the back we have a limelight prime, and in front of it I've got all these peonies, which I should probably harvest because they're, or deadhead, because they are looking like they are almost past their prime. This one might be Coral Charm. It's like got a beautiful, or no, sorry, Bowl of Beauty. That's what it's called, Bowl of Beauty. And it is living up to the name. Definitely have to do better at staking these. And then turning along this corner here, so I have this plant growing and I have no idea what it is, but it's growing through my clematis, so it's really hard to kind of get out. Last year I cut it to the ground, and you can see it's grown back so fast and it's flexible, but I don't think this is a good plant to have. So, and you can see like it's going all the way down here, all the way down into my clematis. I'm a little bit worried about how I'm gonna get that out of there. But so this trellis, I have 3 clematis on it. It's 3-sided trellis. And this one you can see has already gone to seed. These are the beautiful seed pods. I leave those because I think they're so interesting. But these are kind of the remnants of the leaves. It was like a very pale, pinky, purpley type of clematis. That one has finished. And then the summer blooming variety will come in at some point. I think it's Sweet Summer Love. It's like the name. And the other thing I wanted to show you guys was my calendula is self-seeded itself. And I'm really bad at weeding, so a lot of stuff self-seeds. It's like kind of a controlled chaos. I just try to edit what I can. I love the calendula. It is so vibrant. It's so eye-catching. But I think I do have to edit some of it out, unfortunately, because it's just gotten to be a little bit too much. And then I don't have space for other things. But look at that. So gorgeous. And yeah, they self-seed prolifically. I might collect some seeds and just like pull out a bunch. But how it's so hard to pull it out because it looks so beautiful. Here I have, I believe, a bee balm. There's a cat's pajama nepeta in there, that purple one. I actually have a strawberry plant. I gave away most of my strawberry plants. Someone came and dug them out last year, but some of them must have gotten missed. So I have a little strawberry plant in there. I've got my storm cloud Amsonia. And one thing I was really happy to see was that my elderberry survived and it's actually blooming. So this was transplanted from my retaining bed garden when it was coming down, and it came out. I had to get my cousin to take it out for me because it was so hard to dig out, and he barely got any roots, barely any. So I was like, oh, this is a goner. But it's the black lace elderberry and it's blooming for the first time, so that's really exciting because it never bloomed in the other area. I think it needs more, like, it needs full sun. It can't handle part shade or part sun like where it was before. So I'm really excited. I'm glad that it's blooming and it survived its transplant and it seems to be doing well. Okay, moving along. So this is another clematis I have on this little trellis here. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I love it. Look at that color. That is a gorgeous clematis. I really am a fan of these like kind of darker colors. I'm not a fan of the more lighter colors. I really like the more saturated colors. And okay, let's move along. So here I have my Alnwick rose, my David Austin Alnwick rose, which I did transplant, I believe, last year into this spot, heavily mulched it. And you can see like some of the blooms have already gone over, need to kind of deadhead a bit. But here is one you can take a look at. It's a beautiful, very soft kind of baby girl pink, kind of baby doll pink, I guess, color. And it's very, it's got so many petals. Just a beautiful rose. It's got a very upright habit, and you can see like there's no sign of any black spot here. So yeah, it's a first year, so I'm gonna give it some fertilizer and hopefully it keeps on blooming. And then back there I've got a Wagilla, which it also was transplanted. It wasn't looking the best. I wasn't sure if it would survive, just like the elderberry. It was like next to the elderberry, and it seems to have survived. And I missed most of the blooms, but you can see some of them. And that is kind of an upright habit, so that's great. And here, so if you have been following my channel, you know I winter sowed cup and saucer flowers, Canterbury bells. And these Canterbury bells I had winter sown like 2 years ago, and I finally had them planted out into this garden bed. And when I came back from 2 weeks away, this is what I came back to. So I was so surprised to see color on these. And tons of buds. So these are really cool. Like, they're so nice and tall, and you can see I don't see like the cup part, but definitely the saucer part is there. And then hopefully I will get a lot of those blooms. And you can see I thought they'd have more colors, but I have this like deep purple and then I have one of the lighter purple. So yeah, hopefully more lighter purple will come up. Okay, so this here is apparently a Zephyrine Druin rose. That is what I bought. That's what it was labeled as. And I don't know if it is that. I have one kind of wild stem that grows up over here. I didn't really do much of a prune job on this one, but apparently this is a Zephyrine Druin climbing rose. Now, its color could be affected by the soil, and that's why it's like a different color than what I expected. I'm not really sure. That's what I'm assuming what happened, but you know, you can see like there is some black spot on it, so it's not like the healthiest rose, but you know, I don't know. My sister says she likes the color, so I'm just leaving it. This is the second year there, second or third, so I'm just gonna leave it be. And then this is a rose campion that is white. So I showed you the vivid fuchsia color. This is white rose campion, so it comes in both colors. I have to say I prefer the fuchsia, but this one actually looks really nice next to the rose. I think the fuchsia would kind of be a little bit too similar to that color. I've got a couple cat's pajamas. So I always try with cat's pajamas because I love them, but they don't do well in kind of my waterlogged soil. In winter we get really waterlogged, so I don't think they like that, but these ones seem to have made it. So fingers crossed that I can have like kind of a flowing river of Nepeta at some point along this garden bed. Now the biggest surprise I came back to were these foxgloves. I have no recollection of planting them. I feel like I must have, but I really do not recall that, and they are biennial, so you know, I would have had to plant them 2 years ago, which is definitely possible, but this is why I make these videos, is so I can look back and remember stuff, because I can't recall planting these. But I came back from my trip and I had like 2 weeks later, I came back and I had these gorgeous flowers, the stalks, like these spiky tall stalks. They're like over 5 feet tall, like they're taller than me, this one, because you know, they would have been taller than the fence when the fence was there. So, and I just love how they're kind of dotted throughout, like in that cottagey vibe. So these are kind of the more common variety that we kind of have here. Actually, we do have a lot of these growing wild here, but you could see like the tubular shape. And there, it's like a runway for bees. I saw so many bees going in there, so it was really exciting to see these plants in my garden, because I've never had them in my garden before, and to see, like, you know, it's a runway for bees. So love to see the pollinators taking advantage of that. And I just love the color contrast of the Nepeta and the calendula, just like orange and purple are opposite sides of the color wheel, so it's really exciting to kind of see that contrast. Here I've still got more rose campion that's still coming. This one looks like it's white. I have another foxglove here, and yes, I am aware foxglove is poisonous, so be careful. Like, you know, I'm not going to be eating that, but if you do have kids or pets, then it's good to be aware. And I'm really glad I probably pulled some of these out as weeds, because I probably thought they were weeds. So I'm glad that some of them survived, because I can't really tell what's a weed and what's something I planted. Anyways, moving along, so here's this stand of foxglove. So just behind here is my neighbor's garden. It's like a step down, so just so you're aware, that's all their side. I'm going to try to, they're not out, so I waited till they were, you know, not using their space before I did this tour, but I just wanted to get this tour in because I always just never get it done, and then I always forget what I planted and how things look. So alright, so here is a hydrangea I transplanted last year. We'll see how it does. Hopefully it does well. Kind of like the slopes down, so it's hard to water, unfortunately. So anyways, at some point we got to deal with this wall here, but that's for another day. And then again, I have my gorgeous rose campion, and it looks like it's mostly white on this end, which is totally fine, because this is the more shadier side anyways. But just the size of this rose campion really surprised me, because it was just like a tiny plant, like the size of my hand, and now it is grown like 3 feet tall, well, 2 to 3 feet tall, and it's just looking gorgeous. So there's that. And I wanted to show off this rose, which I believe might be a rose that, you know, the graft failed. And I think this might be the rootstock. I believe most commonly it's Dr. Huey rootstock, and I think that might be this rose here, because I don't think this was here before, but it is a beautiful color rose, and it's kind of like just falling over or draped over the back there so nicely. So I think I might leave it at least for now, and then, you know, might have to remove it at some point, but for now it's, you know, it looks nice, and I'm gonna leave it there. And I can see here I've got another delphinium popping up there, and then here's a bigger one, and I wonder if these self-seeded, but anyways, it could have happened, who knows. And then looking back here, I wanted to show off, so this is a beautiful lavender that is just doing so well. You can see it's got bloom stalks all over it. I did a very heavy prune on it last year, and it seems to have taken to it quite well, because you can see you don't see any woody stems whatsoever, and it is all budded up, and it just smells amazing. One really interesting thing I've seen in the garden is this. So this looks like spit, and it kind of looks like somebody spit on your plants, but actually it's like a bug. It's called a spit bug or something. Really gross, but anyways, it seems to be quite a bit of it in the garden when I got back. I had to show off my black pearl heuchera. So this black pearl heuchera has been in here for years, and it loves its life. You can see how big it is. It is like huge. It's like extending the whole width of the bed. And you can see the gorgeous blooms. Such kind of fairy-like blooms, like just floating on top of this beautiful dark base. I love it. Black Pearl. I think it's a perfect name. And then I've got some more rose campion kind of ringed around the back. And here I have some yarrow, which is just budding up. Here I've got my succulent planter doing really well. You can see my Angelina stone crop is blooming, getting ready to bloom here. And then this is under my fruit trees. So I've got fruit trees up here. They're dropping a lot of fruit. I've got apples, cherries, pears. I have a plum tree, but it's no fruit on there. And then this is my garden bed under the trees. And then this is kind of what I call my keyhole garden bed. So I will show you kind of the highlights. So I have my Hakanakloa forest grass, which I put in last year. I was very worried I was going to lose this because I planted it late last year, but I'm so happy to see that it survived. And my hydrangea here, this is limetta. I've got it on both sides. It looked really rough. It survived, it's bloomed, or it's got buds, so that's good. And then one thing I really wanted to show you guys, this is my pink cashmere Superbina from Proven Winners. I bought this and last year I put it in here. It overwintered for me. So I was amazed just to see this come back. Like, I had kind of left it. I was debating, do I pull it? Do I leave it? And you know, I'm zone 8B, so I left it and it survived and overwintered, which is a really pleasant surprise. And here I've got, I think this might be Violet Riot, it's a salvia. And I do have a Shasta daisy. I used to have 3 Shasta daisies, kind of like 1, 2, and 3. But unfortunately, that one is the one that thrived, and the other 2 just did not like their spots. So it's not balanced, but what can you do? Some more peonies. I think this is another Festiva Maxima. So that one obviously does well in the backyard here. And then I've got a hydrangea here called Miss Sayori, and if you get a chance to get this one, get it. It's got beautiful dark foliage and the blooms are to die for. So I see the buds on there. I'm really excited to see it bloom. I put this little tree in there. It's like a pine. I put that in there last year and it seems to be doing okay, so that's good. It's you know, it's like a nice winter interest when the hydrangeas are gone. Here you can see some remnants of my storm cloud Amsonia blooms here. So the good thing is that when these blooms kind of fade, then the other blooms kind of take over. So this is my mahogany monster heuchera with its beautiful blooms. So I try to go for like lots of height and different bloom times. Here's my other limetta here and my Hakanakloa. So this kind of mirrors the other side and try to get like some symmetry here. Anyways, those are the highlights of that garden bed. Let me show you under my fruit trees. The one thing I really wanted to show off was these. So these are foxglove, and I kind of had written them off. I knew they were biennial, but it seems to me like it took like almost 3 years for them to bloom. But look how gorgeous. How gorgeous is that? I believe it's Sophie's Choice, this one. And I've got one here, and you can really see them from far away. This is another black pearl that has done really well in my garden. That one I've had for a couple years. I planted this one at the same time, didn't do so well, so you never know. You know, even like they're like just feet apart, one of them has thrived, one of them hasn't, so I can't tell you why. And these are just some recent plantings I have, so hopefully those will kind of take off this year. So my plan is to kind of fill this with color, and I'm using heuchera because it is a shady area underneath these trees. So these are deciduous trees, but I figure it's dry shade, so I have to look for stuff that will thrive in dry shade. So hopefully the heuchera, I figure because the black pearl did well, that, you know, the other ones will do. And the mahogany monster seems to be doing really well no matter where I put it, but the other ones, you know, it's kind of hit and miss. All right, I wanted to show you my shade garden. So here I have a smoke bush, and this one is doing beautifully. I love how this looks. Like these, that is a perfect leaf. Just beautiful, dark burgundy, like Merlot-like foliage, just gorgeous. And I purposely put it in like a kind of a more shadier spot because I do not want it to get like humongous. I just like the look of it being kind of this size. And then right behind it, I've got that Alca millimalis with those chartreusey blooms, and just the contrast is so beautiful. Back here, I also have a proudberry coralberry, which is doing really well. I planted that in a video, and you know, once kind of these blooms kind of fade, that one hopefully will have interest. So it's looking nice so far. I like it. And just underplanted here, I've got this Brunnera, which is just like this pop of silver. I just love Brunnera. I wish I had more of it. It just doesn't seem to come back reliably in all parts of my garden, so I have to really pick a nice spot for it. And this one, maybe dry shade is the way to go. So under this tree, I planted this kind of secret shade garden, so excuse the mess. I haven't had a chance to kind of clean up, but this secret shade garden is relatively new and it is looking amazing. So can you believe the size of this hosta? So this was not a big hosta. I think I even put it in here last year, and it's a Francis William. It might have even been a division, and it is huge. It just makes me think of jungle, like jungle, and I love that look. So I love that hosta. I have a more like boring hosta back here right next to it, and when I compare the two, I'm just like, this one, you gotta go. Like, I have to get another one to put here because this one is just not stacking up, not even close. I did transplant some onyx and pearls penstem in here, which I like, and it looks like, you know, I wasn't sure if they would get enough sun to bloom, but you can see the buds are on there and it's looks like it's gonna bloom. So I'm hoping this will kind of spread here. So back here, I do have some forest grass, which you cannot even see because of all of the stuff in front, but I've got this pumpkin spice heucherella. I've got a bleeding heart, which was doing really beautifully when, you know, when that was in bloom. This wasn't all like kind of leafed out. So actually it was really nice to have that bleeding heart there. And then let me just kind of inch back over, try not to step on any plants here. I believe this is my Dusty Miller, which has kind of exploded, and you can see it has buds on it. So it has like yellow flowers. I'm not sure if I want that. It's nice kind of if it's all seeds, but at the same time, I may just have to cut that back because it's a little bit too big for its spot. And I'm assuming it's Dusty Miller because this back here is Dusty Miller and it's very similar. I've got a Jacob's ladder here, and that one was blooming, so might be out of bloom now. Pulmonaria, which looked amazing when it was in bloom. And then I'm not going to go all the way back here, but I've got a Royal Standard hosta back there, which is like such a nice upright hosta, which kind of is nice actually to have the space underneath it because you can see the silver gumdrop heuchera. That silver gumdrop heuchera I absolutely love. It's so beautiful. So I'm so happy with that one that I actually got a second one. I found one on clearance and I popped it in right here so you can see this one, and it's a little bit smaller, but I'm hoping it's gonna take. It seems to be doing really well. So I've got 2 silver gumdrop heuchera in this garden bed, and I've also got 2 citrus shock heucherella. So that's those ones here. So the citrus shock kind of like gives a nice vibrant kind of color. The silver gumdrop is more of like a muted tone. And the other thing I really love in this garden is the ground cover. So I've got this lamium here. You see it's actually growing up the fence and it has a bloom there. Just love it. I just love that silvery foliage. You know, I hope it spreads everywhere, but I've got one little patch here, one patch here. And then the other ground cover I have is this Angelina Stonecrop sedum. And I've also got Ajuga. So I've got quite a few ground covers going on here. And the goal is that I want them to kind of take over so I don't have to add any mulch in this garden bed or weed much, and then it'll be kind of self-sufficient kind of shady area. And this is kind of dry shade, so I do have to kind of supplement water the hostas, or else I think the hostas won't be happy, but that's no problem because they're looking amazing right now. This one is really, it's got this white kind of edging to it, really nice. That was the division I took. And then here I've got this hellebore. So that hellebore was looking amazing, and then oops, sorry, it was looking amazing, and then this fern just kind of exploded. So you know, it's really nice because when the hellebore, the foliage has got this nice big foliage, nice big blooms, and then the fern foliage is such a contrast to that. So it's very finely dissected foliage, and then it contrasts with this hosta foliage as well. But overall, like the look of these three plants, like it just gives me jungle, and I love it. So, you know, I just think like Jurassic Park. I feel like putting little toy dinosaurs here because it's so cool that this giant leaved hosta and then this fern and those like big leaves of the hellebore, they're just so beautiful. Like I'm just so happy with how that turned out. I have a little astilbe here which is not doing great, so I might end up taking that out. There's also a weed there, it's called dock. It's got a very deep taproot, it's hard to dig out. And I gotta say, the one annoying thing about this garden bed is that like here we have a pear tree and it's constantly dropping plum or pears, so I'm always like collecting them, and if I don't collect them we get raccoons in here. So yeah, it's constantly kind of a job to do. And the plums or the pears aren't really edible. They're always like got brown spots all over them, so they're not looking the best. All right, so I'm going to now switch sides, go back across this little garden bed here and show you this garden bed. So this narrow garden bed along the shed, it's kind of the shed bed, and it's kind of a part shade, part sun area. And one thing I wanted to show you, I had put Gracewort lithodaria in here last year in the fall, and you can see the beautiful blue blooms, kind of hidden, but it's there, and beautiful color, it's blooming. And why not put it there to cover some ground, right? So it didn't take everywhere I put it, but it took there. I've got some Alchemilla mollis, astilbe, pulmonaria. I've got this beautiful hydrangea, which is in its, I think, second or third year. It's a little lime punch, so it's looking better and better every year. Some more of this Gracewort lithodaria, pulmonaria, or not pulmonaria, Jacob's ladder, heaven sent Jacob's ladder. I have Jacob's ladder in here. Another gorgeous Alchemilla mollis. And moving along, my bleeding heart is just wrapping up, but you know what's crazy about this hosta, it's got like huge leaves, but it had this bloom stalk that it just shot up. And it's so early, it's like the only bloom stalk on hostas I have. But for some reason, this one came up super early and it's blooming. It's kind of off-white, almost lavender blooms, but very interesting. I put that in the corner and I can see that's like the same as that giant hosta I have under the tree. So I might have to relocate that, but I love that hosta anyways. I can't have enough of that hosta. And then this is my Invincible ruby hydrangea that I rescued. It was a clearance plant. It didn't look very good at all, but you know, there's buds on there, so there's hope for that one. I have an azalea back here, which I think I'm going to get rid of. I've never been a fan, and it just doesn't look that great. The leaves are always yellow. And here we are back to where we started the backyard tour here. But yes, astilbe. I have a beautiful wild berry kikara here. I've popped some more alyssum here along the edge. I've got my pink fizz heucherella. And then I've even got some pots of salvia, which I still have to pot or plant out. So that's another task that I've got to get done because I otherwise have to keep watering those. And it's a bit of a pain. And I think I have a mix of like pink profusion and pink dawn. And I just have to decide where I want to put those. But I kind of left them here as a test to see if there's enough sun for them here. And it seems like there was, so that's good news. Oh, and there's one area I did forget to show you. The middle of the garden is my circle garden. And you can see the star of the show is my Gertrude Jekyll rose. So it is blooming like crazy. I came back, there was no blooms when I left, it was just buds. And I came back to these amazing blooms all over. They smell so good. So I didn't really do a very good prune job on this. I was kind of intimidated by it, and you can see like the support is kind of a joke at this point. But I did have the Guernsey cream clematis blooming when I left, and you can see there's one bloom left. But for the most part, these are the seed heads here. It's gone over, but that's okay because now the Gertrude Jekyll rose is the star of the show, and it's looking amazing. I did have a chance to kind of deadhead this today, and it just goes crazy. So I definitely have to fertilize that one because it's putting on such a show. I have another, I think this is Sophie's Choice, I believe is the type of foxglove that is, but I love it. So that one, I have a few of them in this garden bed, kind of throughout in the back here, and they're looking amazing. I also have some delphinium. You can see the delphinium are starting to bud up back here. And what else did I want to show you? Oh, I have peony back here. So these leaves are peonies, and here you can see the bud of the peony. I think this is Dr. Alexander Fleming. It's supposed to be very heavily fragrant. And of course, like, I have no sense of spacing, so I clearly need to adjust the spacing in this garden bed because that peony is being swallowed. And last year I did put in these three, I think they might be Mahogany Monster Euchera, these three, and they're doing really well. But I obviously should have planted the foxgloves farther out, and yes, delphinium as well. Definitely the peony needs to move. And then I have this hydrangea here, which is also being swallowed up, poor thing. This is another Miss Sayori, and that is way too close to that Garchurgico rose. Oh, how beautiful. How beautiful is this flower, this peony. Peonies are one of my favorite flowers, and they just smell amazing. Just love peony season. I'm so glad I caught it. I have a little plant here. It's called a bumble snow. It's a salvia, and that was planted when there was barely anything in this garden bed, but now it's been swallowed up. I did pop some alyssum around the circumference of this circle garden here just to kind of have that hopefully come back next year and have a nice edge. On both sides I have this Illuminati mock tower, which is a mock orange. So it's Illuminati Tower. It's a proven winners variety anyways. You can Google it if you're interested, but I have it on both sides and it was in full glorious bloom. It's supposed to have a scent. I can't really personally smell it that much, but you know, if you put your nose in it, there is a scent, but it's not something that, you know, scents the air like roses or peonies do. So it's a nice upright shrub, and I've kind of got it on both sides. But this side is fine, but the other side is kind of getting swallowed up. And then I also have my overwintered pink cashmere verbena, superbena in here. I've got my Ansonia in here. I've got pincushion flower. I've got my Miss Sayori hydrangea on this side, which I don't see any buds on yet. And this was kind of a test to see if there was enough sun in this spot for it. So we'll see. Might have to relocate that. Look at this gorgeous Garchurgico. Just gorgeous. Beautiful flowers. Okay. So this one is kind of more leaning, this is the sunnier side. So I've got more blooms on this side, I think, and it kind of more arms reaching out this way, branches. There's my other pink verbena, which was like kind of symmetrical, but I think it's getting swallowed up by my rose, so I might have to bump that one out at some point. And this is my poor other mock orange, just completely swallowed up by this rose. So it's really good for me to make these videos because I can remember later on that, okay, yes, I do have to bump out this mock orange, or, you know, remove it altogether. I have to remember to check if this hydrangea blooms this year. So lots of good notes being taken. And the last but not least is my coin slot garden beds, I call them. So you may recall I planted some sea holly eryngium, or sea holly, it was blue glitter sea holly, and I thought I lost these because I planted them late last season and we had a very, very wet winter, and basically these were filled with water like more times than I can count. They were filled with water for like a day, and then it slowly drained, and then it would rain again, they would fill with water, and I was like, they need good drainage. I was like, there's no way these are going to make it, but shockingly they made it. So I'm so excited to see these because they are just the most interesting blooms. So they're budded up, super excited. I also did have some Gracewort Lithodaria underplanted, which, you know, has been doing so-so, you know, not my favorite, kind of looks half good. So I did transplant some Love in a Mist or Nigella under here, which I had started from seed, and I love Nigella. Just look at this plant. Look how interesting this is. It's just so cool. So there's that color. And then even better is this blue color. So so gorgeous. And I think they might typically be taller, but for some reason mine are that size. But I love them anyways. And here's my other sea holly, and this is coneflower, so that will pick up when the summer kind of heats up. As you can see, I have some edging to kind of clean up here. But the good news is my lilac on standard, these are their first year blooming in this garden bed, and they bloomed beautifully. I was kind of worried about them. This one in particular, I have to do a better job staking it because it does kind of tend to be a little bit wayward. So that's one thing on my list, is to fix this stake, to get it properly staked, and kind of gonna have to strap it. But the other one didn't move very much, and that one is straight, so that's good. So I'm gonna give these a few years to kind of thicken up, and then I won't have to worry about them too much. But this love and a mist I planted down here, and let's see if we have any on this garden bed, because I definitely, oh yeah, we do have a little bit less, but they're here. So exciting. So exciting to come back to see like little seedlings that you planted turn into this. And I also did put in some scabiosa seedlings in here, but I haven't seen any signs of those yet. And I did have some blue grama grass, which unfortunately I can't even tell the difference between that and regular grass. So hopefully it doesn't get weeded out. But anyways, overall, very, very happy to see what I came back to. It was just such a pleasant surprise. So thank you so much for joining me on this little tour of the back garden, and we'll try to get into the front garden soon and take a look at that. But it's getting a little bit dark here, so I will leave you with these beautiful foxglove blooms. Alright, so we're in the front garden, and I don't have very much battery life left, but I really wanted to show you my Boscobel rose. So this is a garden bed on the corner of our front lawn that I had put in fairly recently, and I had planted this bare root Boscobel rose, and it is so pretty. Look at those beautiful blooms. Oh, gorgeous. I love the color. This one probably is my favorite in the garden. My favorite David Austin rose, and rose in general, but it's just its first year, so it's a little small, but gorgeous. And you can see like no black spot, no signs of disease. And we've got this gorgeous rose campion. I wasn't expecting it to get this size, this tall, but I love it because it just perfectly highlights this lilac on standard here. It just looks like it's floating in this rose campion. So perfect. Worked out really well. And I've got like lilacs in the front, as well as this Stormcloud Amsonia. I also popped in some pincushion flower here, and Miss Soury hydrangea. But I also wanted to show off my salvia here. And this one is either pink profusion, or yeah, I think it's pink profusion. Could be pink dawn, but I'm pretty sure it's pink profusion. Loving how it looks. It's usually covered in bees. And here we have a hellebore, so that one has seemed to recovered from being trampled over and kind of destroyed, so it seems to be making a comeback. No blooms, but the foliage looks great, so hopefully next year we'll have blooms on that guy. And yes, love, 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 love this rose campion. It's such an eye catcher, and I'm glad it's the fuchsia variety. So the lilac goes out of bloom, and then this comes into bloom, so perfect timing. And then my Stormcloud Amsonia is out of bloom now, and you can see that the lavender is in bloom. And lavender and roses, what a combo. Just amazing. Also have some lilies here that have their buds on there, and those will kind of bloom soon. But it's amazing how, you know, you think that, oh, you know, I've got so much space in between here, I gotta put more stuff in. But you can see how full it's gotten. So full, so fast. And this lavender just smells amazing. It does heavy duty work here right next to the sidewalk in this tough spot. So, okay, I just wanted to get that in there as well before I sign off. So I'm gonna enjoy the sunset, the nice breeze. Luckily we do get some cooling down in the evenings, which is very pleasant. So I'm gonna enjoy my evening, and I wish you all of the best in your garden. Enjoy. Thank you.